Rob Liefeld, Extreme Universe of Action Figures is coming. And it's coming from Loose Collector. Who's it going to be? What characters is it going to be? You got to stay tuned to find out. But for right now, Rob Liefeld, Extreme Universe Action Figures from Loose Collector. Stay tuned.
Okay, people, welcome back to another Fwoosh Weekly. As always, I'm Robo, and Rob Liefeld figures in 2023. I actually had to go looking at what the Extreme Universe could bring to the action figure table, and oh man, this could be a heaping helping of 90s that I didn't know I needed. It looks like Rob has been pushing to bring Bloodstrike to other media for a while now, so it wouldn't surprise me to see that in plastic. But the biggie's Youngblood, right? If it's not Marvel and it involves Liefeld, my brain goes to Youngblood. Saying that, I don't know the right situation. I didn't research that much. You guys know me. But it's in my head now. I'm picturing it. It's too late. Excitement. Jumping back in time a bit, this picture meandered its way across my social media streams last week, and I saw it and the H.A.C.K.S logo and thought, cool, Boss Fight's making Red Sonja. But H.A.C.K.S is usually 1/18 scale, so I didn't think much about it until I saw people talking about it and I realized, oh, there's an epic above that there H.A.C.K.S. That means 1/12 scale, which has its feet firmly planted in the Fwoosh frontier. Nothing against 1/18th, that's just not my wheelhouse. We all have our preferences. We were just talking about Loose Collector in the intro. He did a Red Sonja recently, but hey, there is nothing wrong with different interpretations from different companies. I can take that and put it in my Marvel Legends. I can take this and put it elsewhere, like the upcoming Frazetta Icons Dark Wolf, or vice versa. It's our toys. We can do whatever we want with them. Take this Four Horsemen Figura Obscura Ghost of Jacob Marley. I am not invested in A Christmas Carol unless it has Bill Murray, but I can appreciate a good looking toy. And with the glowy blues and whites, the translucency working its way from the bottom and not so much to the top, it's ghostly. The effect comes across in plastic form, and I love that. In Robo world, a lot of the times the toys come first, and then, oh, property? There's something behind this, but as much as I love this, I don't see myself going on a Charles Dickens tear anytime soon, just because of some pretty plastic. You can't lure me in like that. In fact, I didn't get this, but I do look forward to making the trip up to Veeb's house so I can mess around with his, and the chains, and the earthly things weighing him down. Maybe I'm getting old, but I don't need to own everything. I can look at the pictures and be grateful that it exists. I can look at it, go, yep, I really do like that. I am happy for people who want this type of thing, who want a Christmas Carol figures. That's not to say I don't buy things, you guys know better, but I'm a lot more penny pinchy these days. Although this is my face sometimes when a figure that is calling my name is not in the budget. It's Marley did sell out last weekend, but as I'm recording this, it is available again. So if you're watching this on YouTube on Saturday and it's sold out, not my fault. I'm talking about it as it happens. In other Four Horsemen news, the Zolocon exclusive Warrior Beast Skullman was revealed this week, and the Remco revival continues. I only recognize this because, again, messing with Veeb's toys when I'm up there, just going through his display. What's that? What's that? Oh, look at that. I remember that, but I don't have that. I didn't have that. Oh. He's got a lot of retro love and has made customs of various warrior beasts in the Masters of the Universe classic style. It's hard to forget a bear skull in white undies and red drapes. I like that this figure represents both versions of the vintage figure. That's just more nostalgia tugging, you know? There's a simplicity to it that even if you didn't know it was based on a vintage type figure, the design, the style is there that makes you think, oh, yeah, that could have been something from my childhood. Oh, it was? Okay. Even better. Hopefully these are available online too for everyone who wants one. LA Comic-Con was held last weekend, and thanks to Matt O'Toole, I got pictures of the Jada Toy Street Fighter display. Dun 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 dun. Robo don't know. Dun 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 dun. Street Fighter. I kind of went Barracuda with that, didn't I? But I do spy with my little eyes some new figures on the horizon. Wave 1 is of course Ryu, Fei Long, and Chun-Li, available now. Wave 2 is Ken, Dhalsim, and M. Bison. Wave 3 will be Guile, Cammy, and DJ, who all reared their heads at San Diego Comic-Con. And now we know Wave 4 is scheduled to be Blanca, Sagat, and Vega. 2 big slabs of beef and a saucy masked man with claws. I just talked about the Hellfire Club custom potential with last week's Mezco Bartholomew Vex, so you know where my brain's going here. This could also be a Sebastian Shaw, all powered up and ready to go. I mean, it's a badass looking Vega too, but it could also be an addition to my X-Men villain shelf. It's a sickness. Plus, this is more realistic. I'm not going to buy a $100 figure to make a Hellfire Club custom, but I will spend $25. And most of it's already there. Just some paint, new head. Oh, and again, it's a cool Vega too, but this is how I think. Sagat is Sagat. He's a big, nice-looking piece of plastic. And I could say the same for Blanca, and I am, but there's something even more appealing when it adds some beastly proportions to it. The greens, the oranges, the size, the hair. It's a display full of interesting designs, but Blanca is an eye-catcher. You're going along. Yup, there he is right there. Quick Google search tells me that they're close to completing the cast of this game. They only need T-Hawk, Zangief, E-Honda, and Balrog. At least I think that's true, because you never know. I don't know Street Fighter. I don't know video games. There could have been hidden characters, or there's definitely Player 2 looks. We've seen Ryu in a couple of color schemes, but the main cast, as far as I can tell, and what the internet tells me after a 2 or 3 minute search, that it could be complete soon. Toys. This week, Super 7 announced their Toxic Crusader ULTIMATES! All capitals, exclamation mark. It's the law. Wave 5 Vintage Toy America Toxie. Yes, it is all reuse. Yep, it's the only figure in Wave 5. No, I don't know a damn thing about Toxic Crusader. Yes, I do like looking at toys. No, I don't have plans to buy this. But it seems to be a logical variant, especially with the words Vintage and America in the title. What I see this as is a placeholder, a reminder that they are working on other figures for future assortments, but until that time, let's put another Toxie in front of your peepers. If you want it, it's there for the pre-ordering. If not, there are plenty of other action figures out there, on the pegs, on the web pages. There, I just said a whole lot of nothing while you looked at pictures of a figure that you may or may not be interested in. YouTube's crazy, isn't it? Bit slower on the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse front this week, but there were some tasty morsels. This is the Entertainment Earth exclusive gold label Blacklight edition Mr. Freeze. Yes, I could remember all those words, but I didn't want to. I wanted to do it in one take, the first try, and that's what that was. Definitely not a new concept here. We've seen several Blacklight editions from Entertainment Earth, but I like that there's some history here. There's a reason for this repaint. Well, okay, maybe not the blacklight gimmick, but the color scheme is reminiscent of Mr. Freeze's original appearance when he was going by Mr. Zero. The glowy neons are just a nifty bonus. Is it an exact translation from page to plastic? Hell no! Have you ever messed with a DC Multiverse figure before? That's the style itself, comic book design through the McFarlane Toys lens. Basic idea, todifications, DC Multiverse. Bob the Goon's your uncle. They're just having fun with an existing mold, giving a retailer something extra special that people may be interested in. It's as simple as that. But that's not all, because when it comes to McFarlane Toys, it never is. But as soon as the last weekly posted, they revealed their Bizarro and Bat Zorro 2-pack. This is either lazy or brilliant, depending on the tweet you're reading at any given moment. Me, the silver lining sunny side of life guy, I like to think that Batzaro would just be like, oh, me not put logo right side up. Does anybody else get a headache from reading Bizarro talk? I haven't read DC Comics in a good 10, 15 years, but one of my main memories is trying to read Bizarro and either struggling to decipher what he's supposed to say or getting mad at the writer for not being consistent with it within the same sentence or paragraph. It's like, well, that's backwards, but that's not. Babe, do we have any ibuprofen? But you know what I'm trying to say. It seems like a very Bizarro, Batzaro type thing for the old logo to be underneath, but covered up with the upside down logo. But at the same time, McGinnis didn't draw it like that. So I gotta think it's just, changed for the sake of the action figure. Because they had no problem reversing Bizarro's logo, although now that I think about it, it is symmetrical to flip horizontal. It doesn't require any changes to the chest indentation. The Bat logo is symmetrical the same way, and if they flipped it that way, it wouldn't change at all, would it? So it has to be upside down, and that's so yeah. Just the reuse factor is coming into play here. It's probably a budget decision, but again, toys. You get the product, you give the money, that means you own it. You can perceive it any way you want. Kind of like we all have our favorite versions of Nightwing. Nightfall is cool, kind of that transition between classic Nightwing and modern, but my preference is one of those other two extremes. You can't beat the sleek black with the blue on the chest and shoulders, but if you're gonna go disco dick, you go full on disco dick. But there's also body reuse involved here. So Nightfall is the logical choice, for the painted on costume look. While we're talking DC, Kaiyodo has announced their Amazing Yamaguchi Arkham Knight Batman. And this is essentially all we got. It's big, it's brawny, it's bulky, and I'm gonna guess that it's going to be logic defying in the pose department. You know how we're always talking about the proportions being off when an Amazing Yamaguchi figure is posing vanilla? That may work into Arkham Knight Batman's favor, because in the game his proportions are kind of what? Better than all that though, Soft Goods cape. Oh, we're not cursed with yet another MC Escher type abomination hanging off the back of the neck. Yeah, I know they've been doing cloth for a little bit now, but that trauma still lingers. I mean, every time somebody brings up Amazing Yamaguchi Batman, we'll find out more about this at the end of the month. And I'm trying to imagine the pictures, but I don't think anything I have in here is going to do anything they have out there credit. So I put it out of my head. I'm not thinking about it. A week or so back, Fresh Monkey Fiction announced that the pre-orders for their Naughty or Nice 2023 collection were right around the corner. Well, guess what? Did you see it? That was the corner. Like previous assortments, this will be run as a crowdfund on Big Bad Toy Store. Get enough pre-orders for a certain figure, it gets produced. If a design doesn't meet the goal, it's not made. It's pretty simple. Unlike Kickstarter though, there's no money taken until the product is ready to ship. So there's not a lot of risk. If you see something you're interested in, click. Click, 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 click. When we last talked about these, the Santa accessory set had sold out. Those are available for pre-order again. For Santa himself, this year's variations start with Storytime Santa, looking all wholesome with his glasses and sitting. Well, at least I picture him sitting with the book, reading. You know, story time. Sergeant Santa gets another go, but this time it's full-on camo instead of the greens and reds. Oh man, I can picture this standing with some of the G.I. Joes we're going to talk about here in a minute. But Robo, Santa is far too silly to be standing with Get out of here. You know how I like my G.I. Joe. Silly side up. I guess you don't want to use Wizard Santa next to your Doctor Strange and Wong and the rest of that group, huh? Father Christmas brings it back into traditional Santas, and I just love a good-looking green coat, you know? It looks damn fine in white, too, like on the Winter is Here Santa. And as you can tell by the name, winter was coming. Now it's here. You can swap out the head, which again is there's a lot of reuse in this line, but because of the color schemes and the names and the themes, it's not as apparent. It's not as obvious, even though you can just put them side by side and think, oh, yep. If it works, it works. You can minion him up with Francis the Frost Elf, too. We've seen a few Krampuses in the line. Get ready for Krampus. No, I don't know the difference, because looking at this, it again looks like the Krampuses. So I don't know if in history or lore that Krampus is a different character. I can only say that I like it in cherry red. But I think what I've seen the most on the hearts and minds of collectors are the reindeer. I mean, you know Dasher and Dancer and Prancer and Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Donner, and Blitzen, but do you know the most famous reindeer of all? The red-nosed reindeer. I think Rudolph is trademarked, so you gotta kind of work around that. What's going on here is that, and I gotta read this because it gets kind of... There's 4 full reindeers, and then the head pack gives you the other 5. If you want the whole team, you need to get 2 Prancers, 2 Comets, 2 Donners, 3 Dashers, and then the head pack. The paint schemes are all a little different, and then they match certain heads with certain bodies when it comes to the fur and the antlers. Although, if you put 2 together, and they're a little too close, it also looks like the antlers are interchangeable between the heads. Or if you're like me and you will never remember which reindeer is which once they're out of the packages, you just line them up, make them as different as possible beside each other, call them what you wanna. Except for Randolph the ruby-snooted caribou. Either way, these look nicely articulated, a good size next to the rest of the figures, and I think it's been said if they get funded, then a sled is gonna be available in the future. But if your Santa needs transportation right now, there's also the reins and saddle packs. Or if you like your game meat a little more decayed, there's also Rotten Hoof. But looking at the pictures, it's just the heads that are zombified. So maybe you could get this for another main team reindeer body, and then have the dead heads laying around in a display. I don't know why you would do that, but like I've said several times, your toys, do what you want. If your Krampus or Krampus needs a faithful friend, there's also, oh man, I forgot the name, Gorgon the Goat Demon, who I guess you can also use as an undead demon reindeer. Undead demon, is that even a thing? Like I said, all of these are available on Big Bad Toy Store. The link is in the description. Finally, the Hasbro G.I.Joe team had a fan stream this week, and there wasn't really a lot of surprises. Better looks at things previously announced, but there were some tidbits, mostly the name-only reveals. Looks like Starduster, Nemesis Immortal, Xandar, and Leatherneck are all on the way sooner or later. Starduster makes sense, a lot of reuse here. In fact, it looks like a lot of the retro Duke we're about to talk about could be repainted to make up most of this character. But they don't have to go that way if they want a more modern interpretation. They could use other Dukes, you know, the Duke we've been buying for a couple years now. Nemesis Immortal, I'll admit, I don't know a lot about this guy, but it's a bigger character, it seems like, with dragon wings. What's not to love? Xandar already has a proper place picked out beside Zorana, so hey, give me more the merrier. They've been on Dreadnought's tear, haven't they? It seems like, well, we're going to complete that group and just keep going and going and going and going and going. And then Leatherneck, mustache. You cannot take anything away from the G.I. Joe Classified Series facial hair game. It ranges from luscious to majestic. There's nothing outside of those boundaries. The rest of the stream was all pre-orders. Everything we had seen as digital reveals before. So it was all pretty pictures and putting money where mouths are. The main line gives us Big Boa and all his accessories, like an unmasked head that's been beat up a bit, and then the wrapped bloody hands. Quick Kick with the Fudgy Bar will never cease to amuse me. I did a fast refresher and I had completely forgotten that Quick Kick is swift with the movie quotes and impressions, and That's right up my alley. I love that kind of thing. So give me Quick Kick. There's the Techno Viper, bringing more techie bits to the line, along with more purpleness. And we could always use more purpleness, right? And then finally, Airborne will be in the display waiting for Firefly goodness. And as much as I love each and every release, in fact, I will be getting the majority of them, I think my heart is inching closer and closer to the retro cardback series. They just give me a lot more nostalgia for my buck, even though I didn't have a lot of G.I. Joe back in the day. Like I always say, I watched the cartoon, had a few figures, but when I think of it, it's usually what I see with the retro line. Saying that, I think I'm sticking with the Tiger Force Recondo. I know. I know. Maybe it's because I don't have a lot of attachment to this character compared to a lot of the others, or maybe I just like the extra splash of color with the Battle Cat camo and the black shirt. That is a striking visual compared to the drabness here. I know. Believe me, I know. I can't help it. Because when it comes to Duke, I am all over this. It's Duke. It's a major player. If you watch the cartoon like I did back in the day, he was always there. Over land, sea, and air. I did not mean to do that, I swear. This is what I was waiting for. Well, okay. There was an expectation that this was coming, but we couldn't be for sure, so I got as close as possible with the other version. But now that these versions exist, it makes me think I should wait when it comes to similar situations. Cue Scarlet, who is the exact same scenario. I was okay with the first, grabbed the repaint because it was a little better, and then the movie version, which I used as a stand-in, until this. This is what I wanted all along. Nothing wrong with the game, you just gotta learn how to play it. Like the 60th anniversary Action Soldier Infantry, it is a bit too military for my tastes, and I realize that this whole line is rooted in military. When it comes to anybody but the main guys, I like more military adjacent characters. Along with, ninjas and robots and weather dominators and fatal furries. Shirtless barefoot guys shooting commercials in the snow. That's my G.I. Joe. I rhymed it again. But I'm also a big fan of value. The deluxe releases from G.I. Joe Classified are miles beyond deluxe releases from other Hasbro properties. Look at the loadout here. That is a lot of stuff for $35. You can arm this guy up and then hand out weapons to other figures along the way. That's a deluxe release. Same goes for the 60th anniversary Action Sailor Recon Diver. Hell of a figure. So many accessories. Too many accessories? No, that is not possible. But it is kind of overwhelming, isn't it? You're opening the package and the things just keep coming and you're like, what am I going to do with this and this and this? And speaking as a reviewer, I'm pulling stuff out, putting it in front of the camera, and then an hour and a half later, it's like, okay, finally, here's this. But that is not something to complain about, is it? I mean, more stuff for your dollars? Okay. And that's it for this week, unless I missed something. And if I did, we'll swing back around next week. That's what that's for. And can you feel it? It's that time of year. I feel like I should be laying on the floor looking at Christmas catalogs going, oh, look at that. I didn't know that existed. There was a lot of surprise back in the day, right? There was no internet. And so that's all we had. And there was the Star Wars and the Transformers and you make out your list, which I guess it's not that different, is it, when you think about it? I guess you could call that today's online reveals. It's kind of like a digital catalog, but more one at a time, or one company at a time, one toy line at a time. Putting in our pre-orders is like making a list, wishing upon a star, hoping it comes out sooner rather than later. If it happens, yay, plastic to fawn over for a few days. But then these days, it's the next thing after that. We already know several, I guess it would be the same thing back then. When we opened the toy, it was like, yay, toy. But then that checklist would fall out. Or that, look at these other figures in the line. And yay, look at this toy. Just, Mom, I want these too. So yeah, same basic principles, just different delivery systems. We're just all cogs in the big toy machine. They cash in on our nostalgia addiction, our need for plastic representation of the shows and movies and comics and novels that we love. Could be worse, though. Could be no toys at all, and we'd all have to watch sports or something. I'm kidding.